Good evening and welcome to the Council meeting of July 15, 2024. I'd like to begin with welcome and acknowledgement of country. Wodonga Council acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of the country and as traditional custodians of the land. We respect their ancestors, elders and young people and recognise their continuous connections to lands, waters and communities across the country. I'd also like to acknowledge the NAIDOC week just passed and all the wonderful events that were held. Item number 2, apologies, requests for leave of absence and requests to attend by electronic means. Councillor Poulton is on approved leave of absence and we have a request by Councillor Danny Chamberlain to attend electronically. Do I have a motion to that effect, please? Councillor Quilty. Councillor Hall. Being a procedural motion, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Welcome, Councillor Chamberlain.
Thank you.
Item number 3, declaration by councillors of any conflict of interest. There being none, move on to confirmation of minutes from the previous meetings this time, 2 times. We'll do these individually. Can I have a motion in regard to the meeting held on the 17th of June 2024 minutes, please? Councillor Quilty, Councillor Hall. No matters to be raised. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. The second item of minute confirmation is for the council meeting on June 24, 2024. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Hall. Councillor Quilty. No matters to raise. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Question time. There being no questions and there being no petitions, delegates' reports. No delegates' reports. Item 8.1, quarterly update to the Minister for Local Government. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Hall.
I just move the recommended motion.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Councillor Quilty, Councillor Hall.
Okay. This is a letter in response to the Minister Horn for the requirement. We were required to send quarterly a letter indicating what efforts we were doing to improve conduct and between council and relationships between staff and the culture. This is just the last, well, I believe the last one of the ones that we were supposed to send. I support the letter of response to the Minister that is in the attached to the report. The letter was written by the Mayor after consultation and discussions had with councillors about what to write and include in the letter of response. This was done during a briefing on the 8th of June 2024, and we also had an opportunity last Monday on the 8th of July to bring up any questions or items of discussion that this was coming up to the council meeting and possible opportunities to change the letter if need be. So in my opinion, the letter attached reflects the discussions we had between councillors and on what was to be included in the response letter to the Minister, and I support the recommendation in the report for the letter to be sent to the Minister by the 31st of July 2024.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Quilty. Reserve. Any other councillors? Councillor Simpendorfer.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I don't have any issue at all with what is contained in the letter. I just probably should note that I haven't been present at some of those meetings due to leave and other commitments. So I find it hard to support something I haven't had any input in, but I don't particularly take any issue with what's contained in it. It's just basis that I haven't been able to contribute to that letter is the only issue I'll raise. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simpendorfer. Councillor Coulty, reserved.
Thank you. Just briefly, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for drafting the letter, and thank you, councillors, for your input into this one of these letters. Thanks to the staff who helped us include it in the agenda and process the whole thing. And I have no issues with the letter. I believe it reflects what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coulty. Councillor Hall to close.
No, I have nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. I put that motion. All those in favour? Councillor Quilty, Councillor Mildren, Councillor Hall, Councillor Lowe. Those against? Councillor Simpendorfer. The motion is carried. Item 8.2, election period policy. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Chamberlain, as recommended.
Yeah, as recommended.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Simpendorfer. Councillor Chamberlain.
Yeah, thank you. This is fairly straightforward. It's merely taking the election period policy with a few legislative changes to the people to give us some feedback on what they think, and just some information on that going into the election period, which is obviously October this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. Councillor Simpendorfer. Nothing to add. Any other councillors? Councillor Lowe.
Yeah, I'll be endorsing this. It's just another one of those documents. This one in particular is timing based, obviously with the election period coming up. It's very important to get this document done, but as with a lot of our documents, they have to be constantly reviewed and updated to take out any grey areas or changes that may need. And this has had some additions to it, which obviously take some of those grey areas out, but it'll be interesting to see what the public feedback is on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, council is required by the Local Government Act to have an election period policy. We've had one, and there was some new legislation that has been passed by the state government, so our new policy will reflect and update that. The policy, you know, there are strict protocols and rules around what is required around council elections, so it is important to have a document that lists these and is easy to read and understand. There's also been several changes identified by Executive which will provide a greater clarity to staff, councillors and candidates. Some of the changes involved were election signage, council staff supporting a candidate, you know, the protocols around that, council staff utilising social media, changes to the date for the election period, citizenship ceremonies, where the mayor is usually the master of the ceremony, and during the election period this changes. So there's a few things in the report that there's been a little bit of change, but so, you know, I think it's important if you're interested in getting involved and seeing how things, you know, what's the guidelines around the election policies, and it's important to have one. It's gives you a good understanding of what is required and what is allowable. You can also go onto the VEC website, which gives you that much more detail on the election period. So it's a recommended, you know, that you probably have a look at it, and it'll be on exhibition for 21 days. And we look forward to any feedback that comes back. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Coulty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, just as been said, the election period policy on how council will conduct its business, how any sitting councils or any new candidates will conduct themselves during the election period, what decisions, how decisions are to be made, and what kind of decisions are not to be made during the caretaker period, which is about a month before the election. There are a few sections that are worth paying attention to. For example, election signage is to how and in accordance to what act and where to put the electoral signage materials. Again, events and ceremonies such as citizenship ceremonies, which the councillors are allowed to attend during caretaker period, but not to take part of or be master of ceremony. In an event that some sections in an event, if a staff runs as candidate or staff supporting a candidate, how social media and communication is to be handled, and a few other things that are definitely to be noted in the upcoming election for the current councillors, for any new councillors, and for any candidate for council, and for anybody who is just interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coulty. Councillor Chamberlain?
Yes, I don't think I've got anything further to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. I put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. The next item on the agenda tonight is item 8.3, Public Transparency Policy. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Hall?
Yes, as recommended.
Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Chamberlain? Councillor Hall?
Yes, under the Section 57 of the Local Government Act 2020, it states that a council provide and adopt a transparency policy. Our current policy was adopted back in 2020. Due to the policy renewal coming up every 4 years, this policy was due for review and renewal, and the policy follows the public transparency principles stated in the Act. And that this information must be publicly available unless it is confidential by virtue of the legislation or making it available to be contrary to public interest. So not a lot has been changed in the in the review of the new policy that we have in place, and I think the transparency policy has worked well over the last 4 years. There's just a few updates and changes, but nothing substantial. Transparency with the community is a must, and it's where we can inform the public on council decisions, and it should always be open to the public as much as we can be allowed, without creating issues with with some confidentially does have to come back when it's commercial, or there's some sensitive issues involved with the decision making. But in my opinion, this council's been very transparent over the last few years, and although there'll always be room for improvement, I think we've been doing a pretty good job. So, but I'm always interested in if there's ways the public can suggest we can do things better, and if they seem like they're a good idea or they're appropriate, we may talk about having them on board. But so it's worth having a look at and giving some feedback, and if there's something that we can do better, we're all ears to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Chamberlain?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, transparency is a big issue for me, and it'll be interesting to see what the feedback from the public is. I know from my perspective, I think the transparency of this council has been very good. As Councillor Hall stated, there's always room for improvement, and it'll be interesting to see if the members of the public have got any suggestions of where we may be able to improve. But obviously we need to support this. It's a bit of housekeeping, basically. It needs to be updated, and now's the time to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. Other councillors? Councillor Quilty?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Transparency is incredibly important. I agree in the work of the council, and this word transparency has been in the election material of the current council, myself included, and I'm sure it will be in the election materials of the next council election candidates. The policy is good and I will support it, and I also highly recommend that anybody who is interested in how council present its information and its decision-making process, anybody who has any concerns, not just with the way the policy is written or what it includes, but also anybody who is curious or interested in how to receive this and that piece of information, should read this policy. The policy includes, just as Councillor Hall mentioned, the way we treat sensitive information, such as personal information, private commercial information, confidential information. It has a section explaining that Council, in some circumstances, may decide to make confidential information public unless it's against the law or may harm a member of the public. It has a number of interpretations and documents which are considered or not considered for release, and also the policy has been drafted and sort of seen and compared against the Human Rights Charter. The policy also mentions such an overarching law as the Freedom of Information Act, which is not which covers the work of any organization and the right of any individual to request information. And as I said at the beginning, it is a short policy, just a couple of pages, but worth having a look at and providing updates or questions or requests to clarify some items. One more thing I wanted to mention: non-compliance, section 5.6, non-compliance with this policy. If any member of the community is concerned with how freedom of information policy is followed by council, section 5.6 mentions the avenues to deal with that. So yes, short policy, a very small read, and recommended for your attention, and expecting feedback in 21 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Any other councillors? Councillor Lowe?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo my fellow councillors' words. I won't bore one member of the audience here or anyone else with going back over any of that. But yeah, I just want to echo their words and find out and note the irony of the election period policy and the public transparency policy coming up both together at one time. It seems that with the new election coming up, there will be this same charter for some people, I would imagine, that transparency is never good on council. I'm pretty sure the last 2 council terms that I ran for, there was a number of candidates all campaigning on the same thing. But I, along with Councillor Chamberlain, take transparency very, I can't think of the word that I'm looking for there, but it's a high priority. But I also acknowledge his words and echo his words on the fact that I do think this council does transparency very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. Other councillors? Councillor Hall to close. Nothing more to add. I put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. The next item on the agenda is item 8.4, Sport and Recreation Fair Access Policy. Do I have a motion? Councillor Hall?
Yes, I would like to move a motion with add to the recommendation. Okay, so I'll put the motion forward that the sport and recreation fair access policy as attached be adopted, subject to the inclusion of additional point 3 on page 3 of the policy, which is to read as follows: work with the state government to optimise outcomes for the entire community, ensure everyone's rights are considered and address any issues that may arise through the implementation of this policy, and in a proportional manner in accordance with Gender Equality Act 2020, Part 2, Section 7.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Chamberlain? Councillor Hall?
I have a question, Mr Mayor.
Sorry? Councillor
Sorry, I have a
Chamberlain?
question. Just reading that amendment, should that read "and in a proportionate manner"? Because it's written in on my notes as "matter".
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. That should read
Might be
manner.
worthwhile getting in that. Yep. And I will second it if you wish.
Thank you. Councillor Hall?
Okay. All councils by October 2024 are required to have a fair access policy as part of the Victorian State Government Fair Access Policy Roadmap that is currently being rolled out. The council report states that from the 1st of July 2024, all Victorian councils will need to have a gender equitable access and use policy in place to be considered eligible to receive infrastructure funding. The Fair Access Policy Roadmap Act requires communities, sporting facilities to be available for everyone so that women and girls, men and boys have fair and reasonable access to the best training and game times as well as social and change rooms. Fair access is about everyone being able to fully participate and reach their full potential when playing community sport. It considers the needs of women, girls and gender diverse people who are under represented as well as men and boys. Sporting clubs provide positive physical, social and mental well-being benefits. Everyone should have the right to enjoy these benefits from early participation right through to leadership roles. So yes, I think it's a policy that we need to have, as I stated in the first part of my comments, and as I said, it's a requirement, and it gives direction for our staff to consult with our sporting facility organisations on what is the requirement of the Victorian Local Government Act regarding sport, recreation and fair access policies. So it just is a bit of a guideline for that, and staff to go out to the community to be able to give the policies around where they need to sit in regard to their sporting organisations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Chamberlain?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a bit of a minefield, as you can imagine. I don't have an issue as such with this policy. I have a couple of issues with the overarching act of the state government, but that's not appropriate to go into that here. I think this policy does a good job, particularly with the pointing out the amendment that Councillor Hall has done. And I think the proportionate reaction to any issues we have, and the fact that it allows the council to be consultative with all of the sporting bodies and members of the community to make sure that we get some equity and some fairness for everybody involved in sporting activities and recreational activities throughout the city. So I obviously will be supporting this motion as it stands. I still think the State Gender Equity Act has got a couple of interesting points in it that could cause us some problems. Hopefully that doesn't occur in our city and we can move forward positively. But I will be supporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. Other councillors? Councillor Lowe.
Yeah, I just kind of want to repeat what I said when this first went out for to be put out for public exhibition. That I think this is an area that where the City of Wodonga and Wodonga Council and the sporting organisations within that do this very well. I think you can go to any soccer, football, hockey, you can just basketball. You can just roll off a number of sports and they all have this fair access very well. We've all had the privy to looking into Barranduda Fields, new estate out there, Lee Cheesley Oval's another example of it, where they've got individual shower blocks and everything in place for inclusivity, because it was one barrier, there's still a couple of sports to go. I'll use mountain biking for an example. They'll, the female riders still have to come back into town if they want to go to the toilet. So we've still got a little bit to go, but we're way ahead of where most other towns and cities are. So I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. Other councillors? Councillor Quilty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will support this policy. It is, of course, very important to make sure that everybody, all members of the community, have the opportunity to safely and comfortably participate in sports. And I think that the addition suggested by Councillor Hall makes it even more workable. The words that particularly resonate with me is optimized outcomes for the entire community. Our community is diverse, and our community is thankfully interested in sports in its majority. This policy has been on exhibition for 21 days and we have received 5 submissions. I would like to thank the people who took the time to make the submissions. There were words of appreciation and words of concern, and concern not necessarily with the policy itself, but with what is happening, and the policy lays good grounds for us to address the concerns. I will support this policy, and once again, thank you for the submissions.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Councillor Hall to close.
No, I have nothing further to add.
Thank you. I put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 8.5, Gateway Village Master Plan, Draft Plan and Consultation. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Simpendorfer, as recommended. Seconder, please. Councillor Lowe, Councillor Simpendorfer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quite an extensive master plan, as you would expect, and as it rightly says, it's the gateway to our city. So quite an extensive amount of stakeholders, quite an extensive amount of people involved in this master plan. That's already been out to consultation, and some quite good consultation, I must add. It does touch on a lot of points around the opportunities down at Gateway Village from a natural point of view and also that community engagement point of view. So, look, I'll support this master plan as it goes out for public exhibition and really look forward to see what the community comes back with on the back of what that consultation was. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Simpendorfer. Councillor Lowe.
Yeah, clearly I'll support, and I'll go against one of my things where I normally don't comment until it's gone out for community consultation, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of things, that this is the Gateway Village Master Plan, but it also talks to the Gateway Island Master Plan and even the Wodonga Creek Master Plan that we've got out for consultation at the moment. And I highlight the Wodonga Creek one because they all intertwine, and I'll digress a little bit, that back in 1870, that Wodonga Creek was actually a camping ground. It was put aside down there as a camping ground for travellers going from Sydney to Melbourne. They had stalls down there, markets down there. Then it turned into our first swimming hole down there. So there was a board, a diving board built back in, I wrote it down, 1940 by a carpenter from out the army. In 1937, there was a swimming pontoon put down there for the swimming club due to the fact that the Wodonga children seemed to be not as strong as swimmers as Albury swimmers because of the baths and that they had over in Albury. But I bring it up because we had a pool down there at Wodonga Creek. We had land put aside down there at Wodonga Creek. That pool was even under lights back then in 1937 or something. I think it moved to Stanley Street in 1950s around that time. So even before then, we had a swimming pool under lights. And progression of the area seems to have gone backwards down there. So I'm really looking forward to what this master plan can unfold and hear some new ideas. And, you know, a cable ski park straight across the road from the Gateway Village might be one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. Other councillors? Councillor Hall?
Yeah, there's been a lot of work done on this draft master plan over the years, and there's been extensive consultation and engagement with stakeholders and the community in developing this master plan to where it is now. Gateway Island is a great asset, there's no doubt about that, and how we as a community utilise and develop this unique area is important, especially for our community, because I think most of us do appreciate it, although we don't really use it to its maximum. So partly because there probably needs to be, you know, this master planning work done, so we can look forward to, you know, seeing some improvements down there. But there are issues with it too, in as far as the management being that it's being a flood-prone area in some parts, and with soil erosion and landslip. But we also need to look at this, protect the native vegetation and habitats, because we have that down there as well. And all of these things will need to be considered in any future planning or development of the Gateway Precinct. So it is important that we do have a plan going forward. The new council will be able to look at that and take it where it will intend to go out in the future. So, but this gives an opportunity, this draft plan, for our community to have a look and give feedback to the council. So yeah, we look forward to seeing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Other councillors? Councillor Quilty?
Thank you. I will echo Councillor Lowe's words that Gateway Village, the master plan is about Gateway Village, but it can be considered separately from the place it's on, Gateway Island. It is truly a beautiful place, enjoyed by residents of both Albury and Wodonga. And Gateway Village itself is a very lovely place. It has a lot of very nice tenants, and I expect community feedback on that, because I'm sure people have a lot of lovely family, friends, community memories connected with the place. I myself have taken kids when they were little for many years to Music Kids. I have attended several beautiful performances at the Hot House Theatre, and I've attended a lot of family and friends and official celebration events at La Maison restaurant. There are other tenants there who are, I have mentioned the ones that are dear to my heart, but there are a lot more. And therefore, and of course the markets. So I encourage and expect the community to give us feedback with regard to this master plan. It is large, it is a bit of a read, and a lot of work has gone into that. And it is coming up for vote at the end of our tenure. So I guess it will be the next council who will use it or will be able to use it. However, it is, yeah, I would like to thank the staff for all the work preparing this plan. And it is, yes, it is an important piece of information. Please let us know what you think. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cruelty. Other councillors? Councillor Simpendorfer to close.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's already been said, but look, it is a bit tight in some aspects down there. There's a 20k loop I do that rides around both cities, and it is a bit tight on our side, so it'd be great to see this go out for community feedback to see what opportunities there are. That's exciting. And also then probably to see how the transport strategy can support and align with the activation of this area, because we know it's difficult. You've really got to get there by car. So how the transport strategy can intertwine with this will be exciting opportunities for the future of the city. So I'll be keen to see the feedback. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Simpendorfer. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 8.6, designations to support the enforcement of the Environment and Community Protection Local Law. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Hall, and as recommended?
Yes.
And Councillor Chamberlain. Councillor Hall.
Council adopted an update to our local laws back in February this year, and they were gazetted on June 20th, 2024. As noted in the report, there was a full review done of our local laws, which included best practices, comparisons with other councils, community and stakeholder engagement, and with this, the laws were adopted and gazetted. There was one change made to the document, and that was the standards and guidelines, which was no longer required for the new Environment and Community Protection Law policy. And it is now an internal operation working document. So, however, this is still needed to resolve several matters that are referenced under the 2024 local laws that were adopted. The descriptions of the particular items were specific, like being. So what happened was we took those out, and we've included it in another way of because they were needed, and we needed to get descriptions of what was specified in the local laws document. So, you know, specific wetlands or lake description. So we have got a description of that. Possession of alcohol description. Attachment 2 lists the site areas where consumption of alcohol is permitted between sunset and sunrise. Camping and caravans, description of, and attachment 24 to 48 hour overnight stay and rest. These items needed to be clarified. So therefore they're included in this report recommendation to be approved by Council for information to be published on our Council website. And this will provide the community better awareness and understanding of these terms and acts in the laws. So what it is, it's just it wasn't included. It had been included in our prior local laws. We took it out, but there needs to be clarifications around that so people understand, you know, what the terms mean and what the act in the law describes. So it's just a bit of a information so people can clarify some of those issues that are in the local Environmental Community Protection Law Act that the council adopted. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Chamberlain.
Yeah, fairly straightforward. This obviously, it's a case of identifying the areas that are covered by this local law, and by it enables enforcement and enables people to know where they can and cannot carry out these activities. So fairly straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Chamberlain. Other councillors? Councillor Simpendorfer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I believe it was a slip of the tongue from Councillor Hall, but just to clarify, it's between sunrise and sunset. I think you said sunset and sunrise. I think you said sunset and sunrise. That could cause a lot of problems, probably for the local police if everyone's down on the grog overnight. But no, it's between sunrise and sunset. Anyway, just to be clear. Yeah, but it's a no-brainer. You've got to obviously identify where these areas are, so people know, and obviously they can be enforced. But I'll be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Simpendorfer. Other councillors? Councillor Hall to close.
Yes, I didn't do a very good job of trying to explain that, but actually I think it did say sunset and sunrise in the, so we should probably check that, because I thought that that was wrong, and then I thought, well, maybe I've got it wrong, and I'll say it how it was. So, did I say sunrise to sun? Yes, sorry. Okay, that's correct. Okay, yeah, so I've sort of made a bit of a muddle of that, but it is something that, you know, it's descriptions that we need for the public to be able to identify what those, as I said, what those terms are and what the description is around, you know, the 24-hour, 48-hour overnight stay, so people got an idea, a better idea of what's required from the law that we've adopted. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, councillor Hall. I put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. The next item is item 8.7, proposed road name Ross Close. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Hall and Councillor Lowe. Councillor Hall.
Just as proposed, recommended.
Yes, you can speak to the motion, councillor
Hall. The road name proposal is a name that the developers submitted to council. This is a recommendation that, in this recommendation, it's the road name go out to the public for community feedback. I don't really have an opinion on this road name, so, you know, I look forward to any feedback if we get some from the public on this name, but otherwise, if there's no, you know, if there isn't any feedback, this will probably, you know, go back and for a council decision, and Ross Close will be the name. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Hall. Councillor Lowe.
Yeah, as we've mentioned with out at Barrandoota Fields, names is very subjective, and but there is a certain criteria that they have to go to, and this developer's tried to tie it back to heritage and connection to the earth. So I'll be interested to see what the community says about it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Lowe. Other councillors? Councillor Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will support this matter to go out to public exhibition, but it'll be interesting to hear what the public have got to say. Given the fact that this subdivision is within an estate that uses Aboriginal-based names, I find it interesting that they have used a Celtic reference to come up with the Ross Close, and I would have thought it would be more appropriate because in order for people to know where it is, sometimes it is helpful that the names do all follow the same theme, and this appears to be a completely opposite theme to the rest of the estate that it's within. So again, while I support it going out to exhibition, it'll be interesting to see whether the public have the same opinion of that, given, as I say, a number of estates around, the birds, you know, the floral estates, this one having the Aboriginal-based names, and Ross Close is completely opposite to that, but just find it interesting that it came up that way. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Chamberlain. Other councillors? Councillor Hall to close.
No, I have nothing further to add.
I put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillors, we move on to item 9, reports for noting, of which there are none. Item 10, reports for information. Item 10.1, record of councillor meetings. Any references to be made there? There being nothing to say. Item 10.2, decisions register. Any questions or matters to raise? Nothing to be raised there. Item 10.3, the minutes of the Emergency Services Committee. Nothing to raise there. Item 11, notices of motion, of which there are none. Any general business, councillors? Councillor Quilty.
So just one small piece of general business. The users of the Wodonga Sports and Leisure Pool would have noticed that the change rooms have been closed for a few weeks, and finally they were opened only a few days ago. I used the pool with my family and noticed that the change rooms, the showers, the family change rooms are all nice and new. It's got a sufficient space and amount of rooms for families. It's always a bit of a challenge for a mother taking boys to the pool. So it's nice to have everything refurbished, shiny and new. So many thanks to those who organized everything. And also I would like to compliment on the way people involved on the way it was run during the renovations. There were additional facilities provided. Personally, I and my family haven't experienced any inconvenience, and I haven't heard any negative feedback about how it was handled during the refurbishment period from anybody in the community or from the users of the pool that I know. So all good, really well handled. Hopefully it will serve us, the new bathrooms will serve us a good service and will not deteriorate too quickly, but at the moment they look great. So the weather is cold, but the pool is nice and warm and has beautifully renovated facilities. So please enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Other councillors? Councillor Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the last week, as Mr. Mayor has pointed out at the beginning of the meeting, we were privileged in the NAIDOC ceremony. I had personally had the privilege, because of the Mayor's responsibilities, to advocate for us in the nation's capital while the NAIDOC ceremony, flag raising ceremony, was on. And it was a wonderful event, a little chilly in the shade of the building, but very well patronised. Again, the weather was very kind. Although chilly, it was a beautiful blue sky, and a number of the events during the week, in particular the main event on at Gateway Village, I think was very successful, and it was lovely to see a number of the public there and everyone enjoying the heritage and the activities that went on there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. Other councillors? The next item on the agenda is 13, urgent business. We have, I can provide an update, urgent late business item update on hospital advocacy. Can I have a motion to accept Councillor Quilty? Councillor Lowe? Being a procedural motion, I put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. In regard to the report, I'll give a very quick brief report, after which we'll consider whether or not there's a motion to be dealt with. In essence, on Friday a week ago, the CEO and I and representatives from other councils, being the Mayor of the City of Albury, the Mayor of Indigo Shire and the Mayor of Federation Council, attended a meeting with the Assistant Minister Emma McBride in Canberra. We were given an opportunity to present the information relating to the circumstances with our hospital. We spoke about the need to include the 3 tertiary institutions into the hospital project and to include the military medics into the hospital project. We raised the issues about all the different cross-border tensions and the like that have impacts in so many different ways on the ability to deliver the health services in the cross-border situation, which is extraordinarily unique in Australia. We spoke to the Assistant Minister about putting together a governance overarching body which would reduce the tensions that happen between the states. We spoke to the Minister about a whole range of impacts that are happening because of the fact that the funding is relatively short in terms of trying to deliver the service that we need. And the Minister's given us an undertaking to work with the other Assistant Minister who attended our summit in March to present a report to the desk of the Health Minister, Minister Butler, and that's a really big step forward in our situation. We now have an undertaking that a report will be put on the desk of the Minister by his Assistant Ministers. So that's a huge step forward for us in the advocacy roles that we've had. It's a recognition of the 300,000 regional population and the 16 odd councils that are generally speaking on the same page with seeking to get a single site hospital in place. And basically that meeting has been a great success. Following from that, we've had last Sunday, Better Border Health facilitated a forum for community locally to basically bring the information to the community's attention. We've had a number of versions of this happening over the years, and as this whole project has progressed, we've had more and more information presented, and the Better Border Health Forum brought the clinicians into the forum to speak and explain exactly what the circumstances are with the current conditions at the hospital and with the conditions that are anticipated with the project that's before us at the moment. So that's an update as to where we are. There's been some draft words circulated around the council to reflect some of the things that have come out of those events, and I put it to councillors to provide a motion that we can debate in regard to the matter. Question, Councillor Simmerdorfer.
Just mainly procedural, and I may have missed this from the briefing, but can we just get an explanation as to how and why this is urgent business in regards to the governance rules?
Essentially, this is urgent business because it's come up post the council agenda being closed. It's topical issues that need to be put back into the community at a topical time. If we let it run over to another council meeting, that's 4 weeks away. So it's basically information that would possibly have gone past its effective time in 4 weeks' time. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Simmerdorfer as the paper, and seconded Councillor Coulty. Councillor Simmerdorfer.
Oh, you want me to read it out? Okay. Draft motion is that, 1, the joint meeting in Canberra on Friday, 5th of July with Assistant Health Minister Emma McBride and Albury Mayor Kylie King, Indigo Mayor Sophie Price, Federation Mayor Pat Burke, Helen Haynes and Wodonga Mayor in regard to finding solutions to the health services and infrastructure issues in the Albury-Wodonga region be noted. Point 2, the work of the Border Medical Association and the Better Border Health Group in presenting the Community Information Forum on Sunday, 7th July be acknowledged and the members who contributed to the success of the event be thanked. Point 3, the differing collaborative roles of the region's councils, the Border Medical Association and Better Border Health in pursuing the health services and infrastructure required presently and into the future be acknowledged and noted. Point 4, that the Mayor write to the New South Wales and Victorian state governments to request to put the current health services and infrastructure redevelopment project on hold. Point 5, the Mayor requests the state governments to join in good faith discussion and review of the current health services infrastructure proposal with the Australian Government and representation from the councils in Albury-Wodonga region. Point 6, the good faith discussions across all 3 levels of government consider quarantining existing funding and ensuring additional sufficient funding is allocated to meet the services and infrastructure needs of the region, inclusive of tertiary and military medical education, and consider selection of suitable greenfield site to plan, design and construct a new single-site hospital for our region. Point 7, the endeavours to have immediate provision of modular units at the Albury Hospital campus to ensure sufficient beds are available to address the ongoing daily deficit of beds be acknowledged and endorsed, and the 2 state governments be requested to provide the funding. That's the end of the motion, Mr Mayor. I don't really tend to speak to it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, Mr Mayor, and just, again, the work that's been done from many factors across the community, but also obviously by this council and other councils around, united on this front, is something that's obviously very topical and everyone's passionate about, which is great. But congratulations to everyone that's got it to this point, and the meeting in Canberra looks like it's a great success. So I'll be supporting the motion and the letter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simpendorfer. Councillor Quilty.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for the update. Thank you for the update on how the meeting went in Canberra on the 5th of July. Once again, many thanks for the members of Border Medical Association and Better Border Health for facilitating the community forum. It was a great event and very good to see members of the community behind this initiative. The motion mentions not only the meeting and the progress we have had so far, but also also the opportunities that a Greenfield site hospital presents, such as the opportunities for military medics. And it mentions a number of practical matters, such as quarantining funds at all levels of government, and the issue with the deficit of hospital beds and the provision of modular beds. So it's a good and timely update. It attaches on a number of matters that are very important. And again, thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Any other councillors? Councillor Lowe.
Yeah, I too would like to thank Border Medical Association and the Better Border Health Group for putting the forum on and to this draft motion. And just it was interesting. I just an earlier thing that we had tonight was the Gateway master plan for the village, and I was reading some of the commentary in the paper when it was put into the paper the other day, that a couple of things they'd like seen there. The community was saying that they'd like to see a caravan park was one, but the one that I want to highlight was a hospital. And I don't necessarily agree or not agree that that is the best location for a greenfield site. But the reason why I'm making the comment is our community are telling us exactly what our healthcare professionals and what the experts are saying, that a greenfield site is necessary. Again, I'm not saying it should be down on Gateway Village. That's not why I'm highlighting it. It's just the fact that the community are well on board, and the community are gathering in behind us, and and it's not just our community; it's the greater community are all saying the same thing now, which is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. Other councillors? Councillor Hall.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I attended the forum and it was excellent. It was well attended, and we got to listen to an array of clinicians who spoke on many issues they were experiencing with Albury-Wodonga Health and the hospital situation. One that came to mind was about ambulance ramping. We had 2 representatives who spoke, who were ambulance. One was a retired ambulance officer of 40 years, and the other one was a current ambulance officer. And the issue with ramping is becoming real in our region, in our hospital area, and with the lack of beds, they sit there for hours waiting for a bed for their patients in the ambulance. And when we have not enough ambulance, they're all ramped up at the hospital. They take the ambulance, if needed, from other areas like Beechworth and Corryong. And this is not acceptable. This is dangerous. Eventually it's going to be fatal at some stage, and it just shows the importance of getting this hospital development right, because, you know, we're already starting from a 30 to 40 bed shortage per day. If this new development doesn't include extra beds, and we're growing population, you know, it's not a good outcome for our community, and we need to continue to be a voice for our people, and the council has been doing that remarkably. We organise the space for them to have the forum, allow them to have these conversations had between the clinicians and the people who attend, and I think, yeah, it's just a continued advocacy that we need to support and get fully behind and be loud. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Other councillors? Councillor Chamberlain?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd particularly like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the CEO for your advocacy in Canberra. It's not easy getting other representatives of local government together in order to go and see even the Deputy Minister and advocate for a position that isn't completely clear amongst all of the people who went. Obviously, in this case, we've been working well with Albury, and if you're going to talk to a federal minister, we need to talk across state borders, and that's great. And I really do need to congratulate you, and in particular the CEO, for putting this together. This stuff is not easy to get together, and with the help, obviously, of Helen Haynes and Susan Lee, to get the Deputy Minister to listen to us and take on board our discussions was quite a feat, and I think it's very, very impressive. Well done. The other thing I'd like to note, I too was at the forum. It did highlight a number of shortfalls that we have currently, and it did bell the cat as to what is likely to happen going on with the hospital in the form that they're trying to push through now. It was a bit disappointing to see that there are a number of people that weren't there. It has been noted, and I will note, that none of the Albury councillors were there. However, I have to say that Councillor Bowen called me before the event. He absolutely intended to attend. He had a family illness come up and was unable to. So it's not as if they weren't listening in their entirety. But again, it was a bit disappointing. It was interesting to note who wasn't at the forum rather than who was. But yeah, just to back up what I said earlier, thanks very much to the Mayor on your ongoing advocacy, and to the CEO for the work you've put in to get this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. If I can add some comments of my own beyond the actual report briefing. In essence, what we have at the moment is a situation where a proposal has been announced and given a certain amount of funding, which is in the order of $500 million. We have a project that has continuously been reduced by reducing the clinical services plan. In the parlance, it's referred to as value management, but what it really means is reducing the scope of the project to fit the money that's been allocated. So we have a situation of that with the proposal to redevelop the existing hospital site. In essence, that redevelopment project does not have enough money to even match the original, to go anywhere near matching the original accepted understanding of what was promised from the two former premiers. That's the first bit. The second bit is to redevelop on the existing site is going to involve extraordinary expenses off-site that are not included in the project costing right now. Now, if those things aren't done, like serious upgrading of Barella Road, considerable change to the freeway Barella Road intersection to ensure a more free flow of traffic to provide better accessibility. There's roundabouts and so on at Keene Street and East Street that need to be upgraded. There's a whole bunch of other facilities in infrastructure, not least of which might be water and sewer, that needs to be connected to this building and upgraded to carry the capacities that are needed on the building. They individually, the water and sewage may not be huge amounts, but it all accumulates in other amounts. Now, the freeway changes, the Barella Road changes are quite significant amounts. So we don't have costings on it, but we know from past experience that they will be considerable amounts. If those works aren't done, and even if the hospital can be built in the form that's being proposed at the moment, then the accessibility to the hospital makes it far less functional than what it really needs to be to provide the service that our community needs and deserves. And our community is 300,000 people. The project, when you take in all the extraneous matters and consider what those costs are, this project would be far more cost effective to be built on a greenfield site. It doesn't matter whether that site's in Victoria or New South Wales, it needs to be selected on merit. And that's what we have to continue and persistently seek to achieve. There's a whole lot more that we could go down the path of and explain on this, but I guess I'm speaking longer than I should. So back to Councillor Simpendorfer to close the debate.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I look forward to these acknowledgements and letters going out and to put, I guess, the medical analogy across this, that it seems like it's been an arterial bleed for way too long, and a quick combat bandage is required, but it needs everyone's hands on it, and it needs the hands of the ministers, state, federal, us, Albury, the wider community. So I acknowledge the work that's been done for many years by many different people, but it's getting to that point now where we need everyone's hands on that bandage to stop the bleed and have the courage to make some decisions to reset. So I'll be supporting it, and I'm sure we all around the table will be. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Simpendorfer. I put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. The next item of business is item 14, confidential business. Do I have a motion to close the meeting? Councillor Quilty, Councillor Simpendorfer. I put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thanks, Bo. Okay, thank you to those people that have waited around. Item 16.2, adopt the in-camera recommendations. Do I have a motion? Councillor Simpendorfer, Councillor Hall. Any debate? Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Mr. CEO, can you please read out the public information resolutions from the...
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In relation to item 14.2, proposed sale of land, Barrandoota Boulevard, Middle Creek Sewer Pump Station, the public component of the resolution is that subject to a heads of agreement being entered into and generally in accordance with the key terms below, Wodonga Council gives notice under section 114 of the Local Government Act 2020 that it intends to sell land described at attachment 1, being a proportion of lot 1 PS 616987, located adjacent to Barrandoota Boulevard, Barrandoota. That the public notice stipulates the persons may make a submission in respect to the proposal in accordance with Council's community engagement policy, and that written submissions must be received no later than the date that is at least 21 days after the publication of the public notice, and that the Council receives a further report upon completion of the public consultation period to determine whether to proceed with the sale or not. In relation to item 14.3, proposed option deed at Logic Advanced Resource Recovery Centre, the public component of the resolution is 1, that subject to a heads of agreement being entered into and generally in accordance with the key terms, Wodonga Council gives notice under section 114 of the Local Government Act 2020 that it intends to enter into an option deed on the land described as the remainder portion 2 of lot B PS 726960, located on Roche Drive, Barnawartha North, Logic. 2, that the public notice stipulate that the persons may make a submission in respect to the proposal in accordance with the Council's community engagement policy, and that written submissions must be received no later than the date that is at least 21 days after publication of the public notice. And 3, the Council receives a further report upon the completion of the public consultation period to determine whether to proceed with the sale or not. For item 14.4, land development options at Logic, the public component of the resolution is that 1, the Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to have a full independent land valuation undertaken of all the Council-owned land at Logic, and 2, upon completion of the land valuation report with options be presented to a future Council meeting. Item 14.5, appointment of land sales agent, sale of land 26 Stanley Street. The public component of the resolution was that the Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to appoint a panel of land sales agents to market and secure interest in the purchase and development of the land parcel located at 26 Stanley Street, and 2, a report be presented to the Council once a credible offer to purchase and develop the land has been secured. In relation to item 14.6, 41 to 43 Elgin Boulevard, cessation of the development of land. The public component of the resolution states that 1, Council confirms its resolution carried out on the 20th of May 2024. Sorry. Council further defines its resolution carried out at the 20th of May 2024 Council meeting with changes to and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign the amended Section 173 agreement for 41 to 43 Elgin Boulevard. In relation to item 14.7, land purchase at Logic, Vic Cairns Australia Proprietary Limited, the public component of the resolution is that Council resolves to amend the condition dealing with the deposit payable by Vic Cairns Australia Proprietary Limited for the land parcel being a proportion of lot 15 on PS 901711S to 5% of the purchase price payable at the day of sale, and the remaining 5% of the purchase price within 12 months of the day of sale. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr CEO. There being no further business, declare the meeting closed at 10 minutes past 8.